Okay, good morning. Everybody ready? Good morning. Today we want to continue the Future Ready Iowa discussion. Future Ready Iowa is about closing the skills gap to provide Iowans with the skills they need for rewarding careers. It's also about providing Iowa employers with the skilled workforce they need to grow and innovate. This conversation started as part of a talent pipeline grant from the National Governors Association, which focuses on closing the skills gap and aligning the education, workforce, and economic development systems to help more Iowans achieve education or training beyond high school, what many refer to as the new minimum for career success. Lieutenant Governor Reynolds and I are pleased to be joined today by Nicole Smith from the Center on Education and the Workforce at Georgetown University. Today, the center is releasing a report that projects Iowa's skilled workforce needs in the year 2025. Their analysis indicates that 68% of working Iowans will need education and training beyond high school to meet employer needs in the year 2025. To meet that employer demand and help create a shared vision across our state's education, workforce, and economic development initiatives, we are setting the following goal as part of the Future Ready Iowa initiative. By 2025, by the year 2025, 70% of Iowans in the workforce will have earned education or training beyond high school, the new minimum that meets employer needs. This goal stretches us slightly beyond the report's projected need because we want to eliminate the skills gap to boost career advancement, family income growth, and overall growth and innovation in the Iowa economy. This goal sends a strong signal to Iowa students, Iowa parents, Iowa educators, Iowa employers, and a variety of other stakeholders that we need to focus attention and resources on achieving the new minimum of education and training beyond high school for more Iowans. I want to now turn it over to Lieutenant Governor Reynolds to add further perspective, and then she will also turn it over to Nicole Smith.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Governor Branstad. The goal that was just announced is part of an overall vision being developed to guide the Future Ready Iowa initiative, which states a future ready Iowa that prepares individuals for dynamic careers and lifelong learning meets employer needs, it grows family incomes, and it strengthens communities. Future Ready Iowa helps more Iowans attain the new minimum of high quality education and training beyond high school by aligning education, workforce, and economic development resources. Setting the goal, 70% of Iowans having education or training beyond high school sends a strong signal to Iowans and our employers. The goal demonstrates that we want to empower more Iowans with the degrees and the credentials that really will enable them to obtain the rewarding careers that are available right here in our great state. That includes 2-year or 4-year degrees, apprenticeships, and other credentials and experiences that are valued and sought after by Iowa's employers. Tomorrow, we will begin to host the first of 3 Future Ready Iowa roundtables this month, where we will begin to explore ways to advance towards this shared vision and achieve this ambitious goal. The roundtables will take place on Tuesday, October 6th at the Waukee Community School District, on Monday, October 12th at the University of Northern Iowa, and on Wednesday, October 28th at the Western Iowa Tech Community College in Sioux City. Future Ready Iowa will foster a public-private partnership in the education, workforce, and economic development systems. And what it will do is empower Iowa's employers to work together to help grow Iowa's talent pipeline. After the 3 roundtables this fall, the Future Ready Iowa initiative will continue to convene a broad range of stakeholders to drive attention to the goal of 70% of working Iowans having education and training beyond high school by 2025. So we're excited about the initiative. I think it's the next step that we need to take to make sure that we have a talent pipeline to meet employers' needs. And with that, I'd like to ask Nicole Smith to share some of her perspective.
So good morning, everyone. Governor Branstad. Deputy Governor Reynolds, staff members, the Division of Community Colleges, Iowa Department of Education, Iowa Workforce Development, Iowa Development Authority, and special invited guests. It is indeed a pleasure to be here today as we continue the Future Ready Iowa discussion. Today, Iowans have taken a closer step towards fostering job readiness by closing the gap between current attainment levels of the state's citizens and the education level required for jobs of the future. A perennial problem for every state, indeed, especially since the Great Recession, has been how to find the skilled workers required to compete. This means they must set the best way or find the best way to develop the full potential of its greatest assets, its people. To do this, one must begin by connecting well developed career pathways to meaningful, satisfying, well paying work as a priority. No forecast is foolproof. If this were the case, I would certainly spend most of my time attempting to forecast lottery numbers. However, jokes aside, education projections are the best educated guess we have of upcoming demands. These forecasts are grounded in a sound understanding of economic growth, led by industry growth and the changing occupation mix within these industries. Manufacturing, healthcare, finance will contribute the most to job growth to increase and lead to increases in blue collar sales and service jobs over the next 10 years for Iowa. But why does this really matter? Ultimately, we are concerned with the material well being of our people and a decent quality of life. In the past 40 years, the bulk of productivity growth has come from interaction between education, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Creativity, ambition, drive, grit, determination, coupled with the smart use of technology, seems to be the recipe for economic success for many societies. It is for this reason almost every nation, and by extension every state, has set education attainment and training goals as a priority for its citizens. Our report finds that 68% of jobs created in Iowa will need education and training beyond high school to meet employer needs by the year 2025. This is 3 percentage points beyond the national average of 65%. The governor's office has chosen 70% for its state citizens, a reasonable goal given the pace of growth and change. As we break down the education requirements, we have 12% associate's degrees, 5% vocational certificates, 5% occupational licenses, 21% BA. So we have much more detail, which you can find in the report and talk about later. But all of these certificates and certification must have labor market value. So this is another requirement that we have for this report. How do we do this? We have three points that we must adhere to. First, engage employers to determine local workforce needs and design training programs that are responsive to those needs. Two, we must create adequate performance-based metrics that hold universities and post-secondary institutions accountable, not only for the number of people that they graduate, but also for the opportunities that their graduates create for themselves and others. And three, we must offer work-based learning opportunities both for middle skilled workers as well as advanced skilled workers. Thank you this morning.
Nicole, thank you. At this point, we'd open it for questions on this subject.
Well, Iowa actually is much more advanced than many of the other states. 68% is 3 percentage points above the national average. And the demand for many jobs in Iowa in the future, especially given the demand for healthcare and manufacturing, has resulted in greater demand for certificates, certifications, greater demand for apprenticeship programs. So Iowa has done pretty well compared to other Midwest states. We have done this for the entire nation, actually. We have a running example of the education and level required for every single state by 2025. Specific to Midwest, we found that one of the reasons Iowa seems to advance much further than the others has to do with advanced manufacturing, which requires really, skilled workers now. We care much more about advanced manufacturing than traditional manufacturing because of the wages that they can possibly afford its employees.
Just to follow up on the advanced manufacturing, the lieutenant governor and I go to all 99 counties every year, and one of the things we do is we visit a lot of these manufacturing sites, and it's just amazing the changes that have taken place there. Plus, that was confirmed by the Battelle updated study, the Battelle 2.0 study, which indicated, again, advanced manufacturing, also in the biosciences area being significant growth areas for the state of Iowa, in addition to financial services and healthcare. Other questions? Well, this is an overall goal, and it's a long-term goal, obviously, to be achieved by the year 2025. And it's a collaboration between all levels. Obviously, we began by doing the Education Summit and then focusing on improving K through 12 education. We're in the process of phasing in the three-phase teacher leadership program, which is $150 million commitment in and of itself. We are also investing in apprenticeships. We tripled funding for that, I think, last year. Community colleges play a key role in this as well. Nicole mentioned the certification programs, and that's, of course, what apprenticeships involve, a lot of those kind of things. So it's a combination of things, and it involves a collaboration, coordination between our education, workforce development, and economic development. So we want to make sure that we're preparing people and they're getting the skills for the jobs that are there today and going to be there in the workforce of tomorrow. I mentioned we're already investing $150 million in improving the K through 12 education system in that one program. But there's also investments in STEM. The lieutenant governor is actively involved in that, and a lot of the best jobs are in those STEM fields. But so it's a combination of a lot of things. The most important thing that we see a need for is coordination between education, workforce development, and economic development. So we really have a workforce that has the skills that we need. That's one of the concerns we hear as we visit these manufacturing plants and others around the state, is finding people with the right skill set for the jobs that they have available.
I think one of the things too, and that's what we'll continue to do, the governor highlighted a lot of great programs that are already in place that are really driving that pipeline of talent, but it's about alignment. So it's about taking each one of the best practices with all the various programs, bringing them together and aligning them with workforce development, with K through 12 education, higher education, and then the jobs that are available. So it's about aligning all the programs that are currently in place, making sure that we can scale that across the state and provide Iowans with the skills that they need to not only, obtain the jobs that are open right now, but to prepare them for the jobs of the future.
So the goal for 2025 is to have 70%.
Yeah.
Beyond high school. Where are we? Can you say where we are now?
We're about 60. We're about 60 today. Yeah. We're going to continue to monitor this. And the big thing we want to make sure is that the agencies that are directly affected, education, workforce development, and economic development, are all working in coordination on this. Part of it was we got the National Governors Association grant to kind of kick this off. And this is a continuation of that. And it's setting very clear, specific goals and making sure that we continue to have this alignment and working together going forward for the next decade. Other questions? We'll take questions on other subjects as well. Right. If you read the code, it makes it very clear that the regents are, and there are 9 citizens appointed to the Board of Regents, they have the governing authority. to oversee the 3 state universities and the 2 special schools. And they are appointed by the governor for 6-year terms. They do not serve at the pleasure of the governor. So I do not have the authority to just dismiss them. And I think I was kind of shocked that the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, of which I am a graduate, would advocate for something that I clearly don't have the authority to do. Well, he's been sued, as has the governor of Alabama, the governor of Arkansas, and I think most recently the governor of Utah. And so we have carefully reviewed and analyzed what we can do. And we've talked to the Attorney General's office, who's our legal counsel for the state of Iowa, and they've advised us that first of all, there's no line item for Planned Parenthood. We do not provide any direct funding for abortions, but they, along with many other providers, have received grants to deliver Medicaid services for specific purposes. So unless we can show a violation of the terms of their grant, the Attorney General has told us we don't have any authority to do so. I would also remind you that recently the Iowa Supreme Court sided with Planned Parenthood against the Board of Medicine. So the chances of us being successful in doing that, I think, are not very good at all. Yeah, he's also the one that said I could overturn the Supreme Court decision, that a governor could overturn the Supreme Court decision by an executive order. And I think we all know that's not true. And we've now seen the United States Supreme Court even step in on that issue. So I just disagree with his legal analysis. Well, of course, we try to respond to all people that contact our office and explain the facts to people and recognize the fact that I'm pro-life and I'm interested in working with the legislature on these issues, but that I also respect the limitations on the authority that I have. I haven't had a chance to talk to him since that letter was sent, but I certainly look forward to it. We're talking about visiting with governors. I got a nice call from Governor Scott Walker after Iowa won the football game, congratulating me and the state of Iowa on the fact that we beat Wisconsin up there at Camp Randall. So I thought that was a nice thing, and it gave me an opportunity to thank him. The University of Northern Iowa has assured us they can do this with their existing resources. I do think their Center for Violence Prevention is going through the region's budgeting process and asking for additional funding. We have also received some contributions from private sector sources like Verizon and others. And of course, we announced this in Cedar Rapids. Isaac Taylor pointed out that he's been able to raise private money. This is a grade school kid that initiated the Buddy Bench, and I thought, what a wonderful thing. And he wrote me and told me about it, and we wanted to support that. I was visiting with a friend that said, well, that's not the only situation like that. There's other students that are doing similar things across the state. So we want to inform and encourage and support these kind of activities. The Lieutenant Governor and I visited the mentoring program that they have up in Sioux City. And we want to encourage, and this governor's anti-bullying group will assist and encourage more of those kind of mentoring programs. We're just really proud. The students are taking the initiative. They're getting great support from administration and from parents and from teachers, and we want to do all we can to really fight and stamp out bullying in our state. Well, we'll look at what can be done, but we're not going to wait for legislation. We're going to continue to move forward. You know, we had two anti-bullying summits that were both very successful. We have visited a number of schools, and we want to continue to move forward and accomplish as much as we can. And I think that we're going to have better coordination. One of the problems has been that the reporting from school districts has not been consistent or as clear as needed. I think this new um, anti-bullying uh, office at UNI will help improve that. So we have clear, uniform reporting, and um, and the school districts do a better job of informing parents. No, no, no. No, I'm very cognizant of the limitations that we have in the executive branch of government. We just talked about that on another subject. And as you know, in dealing with the rules, we have tried to work very closely with the Rules Review Committee and with the legislature. And I've already met with Republican legislators that have concerns on the Planned Parenthood issue to indicate our willingness to work with them and on these things. So it's in no means our effort to try to circumvent the legislature. In fact, we informed the Speaker of the House and others about this in advance to let them know what we were doing and why we thought this made a lot of sense. And we're going to continue to work with both houses of the legislature on these issues and respect the um, separation of powers. But at the same time, I am the chief executive, and I want to do all I can to set the right tone and to support school children like Isaac Taylor, who wrote me a wonderful letter last June. And when we can do something constructive and positive to help deal with an important issue that are affecting children in our state, we want to lead on it.
The level of oversight with this office. I spoke with officials at the Center for Violence Prevention, and they didn't have a lot of information at this point. They mentioned that the office, your office contacted them with self-control application on it. So,
Right.
you know, just what will be the oversight?
Well, first of all, we've been thinking about this since the end of the legislative session and what we could do to continue to keep the momentum going that we've had going since we had the anti-bullying summits and the meetings that we've had and the activity we see among the schools. And we found out that they had a violence prevention program at UNI. We thought this is a logical place to house it. And so, but we have been working and thinking about this and strategizing how to best approach this and also respecting the limitations on the authority that I have. So, you know, we looked at and thought of a lot of things, and then we came down to the decision that we made. And we thought that the perfect place to announce it would be Cedar Rapids in conjunction with honoring what Isaac Taylor was doing with his buddy bench. And that we see that a lot of the success of this is going to come from students themselves learning how to stand up and stop bullying in their own schools.
Your office or the UNI down the kind of analysis of how much the program is put in place.
Well, they have assured us that they can move forward with their existing funding. But no, we are, and they are looking at requesting some additional funding through the region's budgeting process. And as you know, that will go through first the regions, and then the regions will make their request. I'll then make my recommendation. It then has to go through the legislative process. So it'll be handled through that normal process. But the good news is we see private sector groups stepping up. We saw the principal, Isaac Taylor's principal, joined and supported it, and they raised over $3,100, right there. And now they're going to have 8 benches, not just one. And then I visited over the weekend with a parent from another school, another part of the state, and said, "Oh yeah, we've already done that at our school. We've got a buddy bench at our school as well." So I think this is something that's, through social media and through mentorship programs like have been started in several schools, like I think Marshalltown and Sioux City, and we're hoping to see dozens of additional ones throughout the state, and the state can provide some help for this, and there's opportunity for private sector support, and local school districts can do their part as well.
One of the sticking points in the legislation that got passed was the notification and some disagreement over whether school officials and schools should be allowed to have an exception where a parent is not notified. Now, where does that stand? I wasn't quite sure when I heard that.
We didn't address that. That is something that I think they'll have to work out in the future.
They meaning
Well, we think this center can make recommendations, but eventually I think this is a public policy issue that needs to be resolved in a way that can get broad-based bipartisan support. Well, first of all, Senator Balkum has also been the leading critic of one of the best economic development projects in the state of Iowa, the fertilizer plant down in Lee County. And thanks to Senator Balkum, I carried Lee County. So I hope you'll just continue to attack the things that we're doing to try to help grow the Iowa economy. As I understand this, this is a modernization of a rule that involves the fact that we exempt certain things from the property tax. Actually, this is sales tax rather than property tax. And this is something that the Department of Economic Development or Economic Development Authority has been working with the Department of Revenue on for some time. Well, let's not look that far ahead. It's just like, I'm a very competitive guy. And Lee County is a prize I had never gotten. And I just want to thank Senator Balkum for the tremendous help he gave me there in the last election. And I just think that maybe he should tone it down a little bit. And this is something that I think, first of all, the Department of Revenue and Finance has been working closely with the Economic Development Authority on that. I think Economic Development Authority can give you the specifics of why they think this modernization, and it's got to do with the fact that it's got to do with advanced manufacturing and the changes that have taken place in the workplace. This is not the workplace of the 1970s. It's a totally different workplace, and we need to adjust and change. Just as we're looking at adjusting and changing our workforce development and coordinating education, workforce development, and economic development, we also need to make sure that the rules that we have in terms of interpretation of property tax, sales tax, and all of that complies with the realities of a modern competitive workforce. Thank you.